Hello, I believe I am live. Let me get over to the chat here. This was the last second thing I decided to do. This is the series that I've been talking about. Give me a second here. Talking about doing. Where I want to go through my collection. So, this is a 5x5 calyx behind me. You can kind of see way at the top, I have games set up there. This is a primarily full 5x5 calyx. Over here, I have an additional 5x5 calyx that is basically full. I have then the equivalent of a 2x4 calyx that has games, and some closet space over there that has games as well. And I wanted to do a series here, kind of going through what I have in my collection, what I want to keep, what maybe I want to move on to a list of get played soon and see if it sticks. Because as I say in the description down here, I have a lot of games coming in from Kickstarter, and not a lot of them are small. There was recently an update for Frosthaven, and he showed what the box looked like with a small separate box for all the tiles, and that fills a whole cubby itself and sticks out a little bit. So I guess this isn't accurate anymore. So it feels like it's time to go through that because, I'm thinking about what else I have coming here. We have Marvel United X-Men coming. That's going to be a lot of boxes. Granted, I will get that down to a smaller number. Oathsworn. I didn't get all the minis for that. I went with the standees for the bosses. That's still going to be a lot. Icefarian Guard. That box is supposed to be the same size as Gloomhaven. Marvel Zombies. I don't even know how much that's going to be. That's going to be so much space. So, let's pour a drink. Some Suntory whiskey. Last of the bottle. Let's have a drink. And let's start going through the collection. I haven't actually figured out where I want to start. I have all sorts of spots I could start. That's a lot of work to move that one. So let's actually start up here. What? Forgot I had a wine bottle opener on top there. So we have two things here. One of them upside down. We have Blood Rage and Gods of Asgard expansion. Now, Blood Rage is one of my top games. I've played it only once or so in the past year. I have a friend, at least one, who likes to play this game. He may own it himself, but I think if I can get the Gods of Asgard into this box, which seems reasonable for me to do, I just don't know, I haven't done it yet, this one is going to stick around. If this doesn't fit, I'm not sure that I'm going to keep it, because I'm more apt to just pull out this base box. We already know how to play it, so I don't have to reteach it. I did teach it again recently. It actually slipped a little bit in my rankings. It's still a top 10 game for me. So this one is going to stay. Put that up on the shelf here. Put this back, though that will be something I want to do coming up here real soon, is try and get that into the box. Next up, Shadows over Normandy. So this is one that I have opened and I've looked at, but I haven't actually played. I got this not terribly long ago. It was a good price, and it is one that I've been looking for. Kind of this weird... Well, the game itself is what I've been looking for. Plus, theme-wise, it is something that I am interested in with this war theme kind of tactical battle stuff going on but it's not purely a war theme. I'm not a big fan of war themed games, but I am a fan of weird games, and when you add in Lovecraftian horror, that catches my interest. Plus, this is one I believe that Sam Healey liked when he was on the Dice Tower, and generally I find that I match up fairly well with Sam Healey's tastes. That said, this is also unplayed. And one of the big things I've been doing this year is trying to play through my unplayed games. Not all of them. There's too many, like I was talking about before. I have a ton of Kickstarters coming in. But my goal is to keep reducing that number instead of making it higher and higher as we go. So this one I do want to try and get played this year because I believe it's just scenario based, not campaign based, which makes it easier to get to the table. And that's going to be kind of when I decide if I like it, if it's going to get played over other games. But the 30-minute playtime on here is really tempting if it's true. We'll have to see. That's, in my opinion, that's one of the ways board games lie really often. So this is one here. Is going to be the placeholder for this whole cubby as well. Here we have Reichbusters. Reichbusters is another World War themed game, but another one where there are crazy experiments going on. It's Reichbusters Project Vril. And this is another one I have yet to play. I have almost everything, I think, for this. I'm missing the outer space version, and this can be played as a one-off, but also has a campaign to it. So, campaign games I tend to give a little bit more grace to. That said, I do need to make sure that I play it, because, I mean, that's a full Calyx cubby plus this box here. That's a lot of room I could free up. This is another one that, since I can play a one-off scenario, I should sit down and learn how to play it. And even play it solo, maybe stream it, see what people think of it, see what I think of it. It seems like one that I'm going to enjoy. I've watched a playthrough of it. If you are somebody who's curious to see how this game plays, the Glory Hound YouTube channel, they did, I believe, 3 different gameplays for Reichbusters, and that was always a blast to watch. And I totally forgot to do this at the beginning, spaced out on that. So some of the reason why I'm doing this is because Max from Table Knots, he has this saying of ABC, always be culling. And I'm not one of those people who culls just for the sake of culling stuff, to get it off the shelf, to move stuff along. Some of these games, like Blood Rage, I had for a while, and it was bringing me joy. It brings me joy to have on my shelf, to be able to be like, I can play Blood Rage whenever I want. I love that game. Even if I don't play it for 2 years, I'm going to want to keep that game. But there are other games that are just okay, that I might be keeping because I think, okay, I'm going to play it at this time. And I'm trying to get a little bit more into the mindset, not so much of I have to keep stock moving, I have to keep games rotating to be trying things new, which I don't think Max's reason for culling is that. He just likes to keep his collection tight to the point where it is stuff that he's going to be playing, stuff that they're going to be covering, but stuff that works for his group. And even, I believe it was Alex from Board Game Co., he was talking about culling as well, and I actually wrote an article on culling because of him, where I was talking about one of the reasons why you probably would want to cull games is the games that you can get back. The games that aren't that big an expense to you, that you probably don't play right now. And there are some games that I don't play right now on my shelf that I can get back for $15-20 if I really want to play it at some point in time. Or I might play it now and then come back to it, sell it, and come back to it later. So this is not one of those games. This is going to be a harder one to track down again. There are definitely going to be copies floating out there. Dice Tower didn't like this game, but Glory Hound and Dr. Glory Hog really did. My tastes generally match up with Dr. Glory Hog's, so this one's sticking around, but another one that I really should get played this year. So we can skip this one here, and I'm going to work down vertically here, I think. That's going to be my plan. Here we have the solo game, or two-player game, Spire's End. You want to know more about this game? I'm just going to make it really simple. Show up on Wednesday. This is the game that I'm going to be streaming on Wednesday. I have had a blast with it already. It has a good story, and there's a huge chunk of the story that I have not seen. So, with this one, it is definitely staying. I like the story in it. The artwork is amazing, and the gameplay is fun. Now, this may have a limited shelf life because, well, it's a story-driven game with a stack of cards, big stack of cards, but not massive. Once I've explored it some more, it might be leaving my collection. And this is going to be the representative for those other 3 boxes on there. We have Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, plus the Last Night expansion, plus Age of Legends, I believe it is, and the Red Death expansion. I am currently playing through this campaign. I have completed the Fall of Avalon campaign. I am working my way through the Last Night campaign. This is obviously not leaving my collection while I am playing through it. That said, I think there is a chance this game, which is top 5 for me all time, will leave my collection once I have completed the whole campaign. Yes, there is a lot more story to go through. This is one that I am tempted to stream solo, but the campaign is about 50 hours. That would be... So, well, I figure with Sleeping Gods, back there, that probably took 11, 12 hours for me to get through a campaign. That was 10 weeks of me streaming that. Even if I play in 2-hour chunks, Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon is probably 20 to 25 weeks worth of gameplay, and that's most of a year. Well, half of a year. And as much as I love the game, it's a fair amount of housekeeping for one person to do. Especially when you have to set up a camera, try and get everything centered, things like that. So This is one, like I said, it's not leaving my collection now. But I could see once I got to the point where I've beat it, I know a good chunk of the story. I mean, honestly, there's a chunk of the story here from the base box that I haven't gotten to that I kind of want to try and get to, but with the number of campaign games I have coming in, I honestly think once I beat the last campaign for this, the Age of Legends, and whenever we decide to do the Red Death expansion, which might be after the Age of Legends, I actually think this is fairly likely to go. The reason for that being, it's a big campaign game. Like I said, I have more coming in. I'm not going to get back to this anytime soon. Is it hard to find? Most definitely. But I think there's a chance this is going to be going in the, well, fairly distant future, but could be going by the end of the year. I really should try and find something to call, but I also, just so you know kind of how I sort, games that are directly behind me in the shot tend to be games that I love. So ones that are over there, I enjoy. A lot of them I still love, but they might be a little bit more apt for me to call them. Plus, I have 3 Calyx cubbies just full of roll-in rights, and I'm going to have to start making some hard decisions soon because there keep on being more roll-in right games that I want, and I do not have room in those Calyx cubbies for any more. So then, let's move down here to Arkham Horror. I don't even know which ones I have here. I have 3, 5, and 6 for the pass of Carcossas. I have Carcossas. I have the original base box. I'm actually going to stand up here because they moved. In shrink. Forgotten Age. It's going to be really reflective. And The Circle Undone. So now Fantasy Flight is starting to sell these without these blister packs. You are just buying basically a core box and an expansion box. This one is actually tough. It fluctuates where it is in my top 100 quite a lot. I like it when I play it, but I haven't gotten completely through this base box. So there's a couple things that could mean. And probably the simplest one is these 3 big box expansions and the blister packs should go. They're starting to reprint these expansions in their own bigger box that has, well, it'd be this plus, I believe, the blister packs, the 6 kind of that go with the arc. That would be the most logical thing. But I enjoy the game a lot when I do play it. I want to get into the deck building side of things. The story and what they do with the cards is a lot of fun. So, I don't think I'm getting rid of all of these yet. I'm going to leave these out because I'm going to talk a little bit about them coming up here. We have Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. This is a game I have not played. I watched it played on the Dice Tower. I thought it looked cool. The reaction to this 3rd edition of Arkham Horror has been fairly mixed. This is one that is tough because, like I said, the stuff that I put behind me on the shelves, I tend to think that I'm either really going to like it or I already know that I really am going to like it. There are a few exceptions, like Shadows of Normandy here, I'm less sure on because I don't know nearly as much about it. I'm going to try and keep these tipped slightly forward so I don't blind you with the light coming off of it. But with this, it's tough. I have had it for several years at this point. I haven't played it. And this is going to go in what I'm going to call it's the cull pile. This is going to be culled. Decision-making process here is on the fly. But this is a perfectly good game, from what I've heard. But I haven't gotten to it at this point. I have an Arkham game that I absolutely love, which is actually going to be the next one on the list. And I'm still tossing through the idea of whether or not I'm going to get rid of that one. I know for sure I'm not going to get rid of Mansions of Madness. I love this game. This game is a blast, app-assisted, Lovecraftian, mystery goodness that has so much that can be done with it because of the app, because of the expansions, and things like that. Which actually is leading me to an interesting decision point here. Because as I'm thinking about this, as I'm talking about this, part of me is like, I could probably trade in all my Arkham Horror stuff. Both the card game and 3rd edition, maybe get some expansions for this. They're harder to find. Some of them can be really spendy. But that could be an interesting option. I still don't know that I want to get rid of Arkham Horror, the living card game. Or the card game, which is a living card game. Arkham Horror 3rd edition, at this point in time, well, let's put it this way, because I'm going to put this back on the shelf, because it is most certainly not going anywhere. Arkham Horror, the board game, when that had an expansion come out, I was like, okay, I should grab the expansion. And I was like, well, I haven't played it yet. And that it doesn't necessarily keep me from grabbing expansions to games, because fairly often I can tell, okay, I'm probably going to love this game, or I'm not going to like this game so much, so might as well not grab an expansion for it. I didn't grab an expansion for that because I kept on thinking, well, if I haven't played this yet, when am I going to? Do I need the extra content for it? Mansions of Madness, yeah, I'm very cool having more content for Mansions of Madness because you can plug it into the app. I'm not sure how smart the app is, but theoretically, it can change up scenarios that I've already played with the new stuff that I'm getting. Like I said, I don't know how extensively it does that, but the whole thing with the app is it's going to be different slightly each time you play it. Now, I've played the first scenario like 3 times. It's pretty much the same, 4 times I think. Pretty much the same each time you play it. Some twists on it. But then I played a different scenario. I forget which one it was, but felt very different, and I loved what the system can do. There's a time travel story where both of you are still in the same house, but one of you has been moved forward in time. So like the person in the past can find secret spots to hide stuff. And they'll send that stuff, the slow way, to the future, and then the person from the future can go grab it. Like that's so dynamic in how the game can expand. Arkham Horror, the card game, very much has a feeling of that as well. But these blister packs are going on the cull pile as well, simply because it's a run of 6. I have 3, 5, and 6. I'm not going to track down 1, 2, and 4 to play that whole story. And actually, let's go up and grab one more thing now. One last Arkham thing. Return to the Night of the Zealot. This is for the base box. An expansion box to help hold that, and I believe it's a new scenario as well. I'm actually going to keep this. I wasn't sure if I was going to keep this, but I wonder how much of the game in those 3 big box expansions I can get in there. Because each big box expansion is the start of an arc. I can potentially go, when they come out with the bigger boxes for those arcs, I could go pick those up. If I'm really enjoying it, get the additional blister pack stuff. If I burned it all with fire, I'd have to leave the room and make a very different stream. But yes, generally burning Cthulhu with fire seems like a reasonable option. So I'm keeping that Arkham stuff. Let's see how it fits on the shelf now. Will it? And then, I bet you, think about this. 2 of these were up on top there. This was up on top here. Chunk more room. Next up, time stories. So once I finish out this column, that's going to be when I wrap up. But time stories. This is a game that is really polarizing. Some people love it. Some people hate it. What I've played thus far, I really like. It is time travel where you are sent in, your agent is sent into the mind of somebody. First one here, you're sent into an asylum. That's what comes in the base box. We have Egypt, we have dragons, we have zombies, all sorts of things going on. Each one of, let me pull this out. These packs, Mercy case here is zombies. That one, it's different. It feels really different in what you're doing. And this one maybe feels like the least amount of different compared to some of the other ones that we've done. There's an Egypt one. There's, like I said, dragons. There's a group that I am kind of playing this through with. The last time we played it was December 31st, 2019. It's been a while. I have picked up more expansions for it since then. I think I have all but one or two of the expansions for the base run of this game. Now they've had a few standalone expansions since then to kind of change it up, kind of deal with some of the complaints people had about this game. This is one that is going to stay in my collection, but originally I was thinking, okay, when I get this, we're going to play through it, then in a few years find another group and play through it again. The more I think about games that way, I mean, Tainted Grail is a great example of that. That is a campaign game. Yeah. Sorry, I was reading what Nas was writing there, but yeah, Tainted Grail is very much a campaign game that once I'm done, I'm not going to go back, I don't think, to revisit the story. This is more of a puzzle of a game with some story around it. I don't think I'm going to ever go back to it. I don't see myself taking the time to find another group to play this with. Now, I know the people who I played it with, they are still interested in continuing. My wife, who I play it with, one of the 4, she is still interested in continuing this. So this is definitely not leaving, because any game where I can play with my wife and kind of have that bigger experience is a good thing, but I am going to have to relearn this. And yeah, as Nas was saying, like, he could probably get rid of it because his group never finished it, and I've started to see it show up fairly often used. So this, I even picked up, I think a couple of my expansions are used because it's a non-destructive escape room style game, which means you're going to be able to get back into it, or you're going to be able to play it, and then once you've completed it or get as far as you want in it, then you can just pass it on. Alright, this is going to require a tiny bit of moving, so I will be right back in frame. $1. $2. Blister pack. And big box. So, let's start with the big box. This is one I could actually do an unboxing on. Maybe I will, because, I mean, it's technically still in shrink. Well, not technically, it is still in shrink, so... Oh yeah, Nas brings up that they made a second edition of Time Stories in 2019, and it's a second edition reworking of it. So yeah, it is a second edition in some ways. In other ways, it's fairly new, in that the original Time Stories, you needed the base box to play it. Now, you do not need that for the new edition. You just buy the expansion size boxes. I think they cost a little more, but you can play it. It is also not a campaign story. Each one is meant a little bit more as a one-off thing. There's an expansion you can get that I believe is called Experience, which then allows you to play it a little bit more as a campaign. The original promise is a story that kind of goes throughout, and there's definitely little hints at that in there, but it's not a true campaign. And I think that's some of the issue that some people had with it, was that they expected this big campaign experience, and it wasn't that. And then the payoff at the end was not as good as they were hoping. All right. Next up. New. In shrink. In a big box. You can see what it is from the side there. Uprising. Curse of the Last Emperor. So this is a big 4X game, but not in the way you would normally think. Most 4X games, it is everybody against each other. Uprising, Curse of the Last Emperor, is not that way. It is everybody as their own factions trying to score points and be ahead of the two AI bad guy factions. And the AI bad guy factions can actually fight against each other and hurt each other and slow each other down, which is really cool. But that also means that one of them is probably winning some fights and getting, well, more points that way. And to win the game, everybody needs to beat the AIs. The AI tracks have scores. I was going to show you a picture of the game. There is not one on the back. And you are trying to beat the scores. This is another one that I saw on the Glory Hound YouTube channel. They played a prototype of it. It looked like a lot of fun. That actually got me to late pledge this one. And I'm still very excited to play it. The fact that it is a cooperative 4X game makes me think it's going to work well for my group of players. Like I said, I think I'll do an unboxing of this because I know it has some really cool pieces in it. And, I mean, I just really like that artwork on front. So, not tonight, but coming up soon, an unboxing. Alright. Said blister packs, which may be enough to get you to know what these two boxes here are for. I'll show off the blister packs first because I don't actually have the original boxes anymore. Here we have Marvel Champions. And I have... Yeah, now it's the art and like the standees for Uprising, which kept it much cheaper, really kind of sold me on it. It looked better than I think it would have had it had minis. But this is a box full of Marvel Champions. Well, not full. It's about... I want to say this one feels like it's about half full. And that's all the bad guy stuff. This one feels more full than that. And as the Avengers, it's all the good guy stuff. These two packs, which I have to put in those boxes, are everything for Marvel Champions. I have played my copy of Marvel Champions probably 5 times. I have everything for it. I need to play it more. This is another one. Actually, this is probably a good one that I could just stream a one-off battle every once in a while. Maybe do a Marvel Champions Friday like every couple months. Something like that. Do I need to continue getting all of it? No. I'm probably never going to play with all the content. I mean, I haven't even gotten into the deck building aspect of this. I just play with the pre-constructed decks for the most part. I have played with one constructed deck, and that was a lot of fun. I did not do that work. I played it with a person at a local game store before the pandemic and haven't played haven't played since then. And yes, No, Nas, if you stick around for future streams, you will find the sickness is not for champions. It's just for Marvel stuff. And, I mean, literally an hour ago, I got done recording and editing my Marvel podcast, so it is what it is. But this is a game that is in my top 10. It's so much fun when I do bust it out and play. I think right now I could probably pull it out and play it solo with looking at minimal rules, which is another thing I like about the game, and just being able to pull out a deck for whatever character, is that I can just sit down and basically get right back into it. There'll be a few things I have to look up, a few keywords, things like that, but yeah, I really enjoy this game when I play it. I just need to play it more. And Nas is being like, yeah, he backed Galactus for the Marvel Zombies Zombicide game. I didn't. Yet. And right now I am saying yet because I backed, I think, for everything else except the Giant Galactus and the stuff that came with that expansion, because that took that price up a fair amount. When that pledge manager opens, I'm no guarantee that I'm not going to, at that point in time, add it on. I just couldn't justify doing it all at once, since I was also backing Final Girl at the same time. This is not the stuff I backed. I was lucky enough to find some stuff out in the wild, which is really rare for it. So we'll talk about that next time. But yeah, Marvel Champions stuff most definitely is not going. I love the game. I need to play more of it. And I need to decide if stacking these boxes on top of each other is a good idea. That could actually end up being a game that goes into the closet, because I could have them, well, not stacked. And I said that was going to be it, but I also said I had stuff at the top. So, using this divider here, we're going to pull down the 3 games from up top and quickly talk about those. He is not for one of the games at top. I will be talking about him in the future. He's just been hanging out up there. As you can probably see as I take these down, these are big boxes, which is why they're up top. So, starting with the one that I've played, we have The Reckoners. This is based off of a book series by Brandon Sanderson, who is my favorite author, I would hazard to say. Him or Jim Butcher. Really love what they do. And this is his young adult series where superheroes go bad. Young adult series, I would say. And this is a cooperative game based off of that, where you play as the Reckoners, who are basically regular people who are trying to take down the main villain, Steelheart. And doing that, you're also trying to take out other kind of henchmen. It's the standard keep everything in control well enough until you can make that final push for the end game. I played this once, 6-player. It actually works quite well at 6-player because you are going through everything at the same time. It's not real time, but it's everybody can do whatever they want whenever they want. Basically, there are certain phases to the game, like the rolling of the dice. This uses kind of a King of Tokyo or Yahtzee style rolling to get your dice set as to what you're going to do that round, and you're talking together trying to figure it all out. This one is sticking in my collection. I actually have the expansion coming, which I'm excited for. The one knock I would have on this game right now is that there's not enough epics. So the epics are the bad heroes. In this base box, there is Steel Slayer, who is the big bad. And there's only one big bad. And then there's a deck of epics that you play with. And I just want more of those. I want more variability on who my big bad can be. The expansion stuff gives me that. And there goes the wine bottle opener again. Next up, we have Yiggdrasil Chronicles. So Yiggdrasil is a game that was out for a while. I don't remember how long. It was an extremely hard cooperative game. Yiggdrasil Chronicles gives you an updated version of that game with a 3D tree, like in Everdell. And I have yet to play this copy that I found used. This one's going to stick around as well because, well, it's a theme that I like, and it's just one with a one-off sort of thing. You can see the 3D tree here. I might as well try. I know somebody who owns this game or who has owned it and has played it. So this is one that I can maybe get to the table a little bit easier, try, see if I like it enough to keep it. And I kind of thought that this might happen when I pulled this last big game off the shelf. I'm pretty sure this one is going to be leaving the collection, much to my chagrin. Nice. I'm glad to hear somebody else talk about Yiggdrasil Chronicles, Nosferatu Clown. That is one that, I mean, I've heard other people talk about it, but not often. I feel like it's flown under the radar in terms of a game. So I was really curious to see, or really glad to hear somebody else loves it. We have Detective City of Angels. I got this at Gen Con in 2019. I haven't played it. There's one main reason I haven't played this game. So I love detective-based games. I love deduction-based games. The issue for me is that this is a deduction-based game where one person is playing the clue giver. They're the one who, when you interview somebody, is giving the responses, things like that. I own the game. I don't know anybody else who owns the game. In fact, I think in the rules for this game, which I have looked at a while ago, I think their recommendation is that the person who is that clue giver, the chisel, which is the term that they give for it, is somebody who has already played through the case. They know what's happening. They know when to give the best answer, because it might cause the detective to be like, no, that can't be the good answer, and push for something else. Push for more and waste a resource, basically, to try and get a better answer when there is none. I love the concept of this game. But case you haven't guessed the problem is I own the game, and I don't know anybody else who owns it, so I'm going to be the chisel if I played this game. I'm going to be the person who runs it, and the other people I know, most of them like deduction as well, so I don't think they necessarily want to take this off my hands and learn to be the chisel either. So, do I keep a really pretty looking game from Van Ryder Games on my shelf in hopes that someday I'll find somebody who knows the game, can run it for me, and so I can play cases as a detective, and then I would come and run it for other people? Because there's a game further over on the shelf that I don't think is going to be leaving that is a deduction game that I would gladly run for other people because I like the game that much. This one is a little bit higher level of work, and I just don't think I'm going to come back to it. I don't think I'm going to spend the time to learn a game, to run it, so other people can do a deduction puzzle. I don't think that's selfish, but my thoughts are, this game, I hope to play it maybe at a convention, sometime somewhere. I can find somebody who's running it and play their copy of it, and that might be enough for me to get this back. But right now, this is going on the pile of leaving the collection. And my pile of leaving the collection is that's going to be how I wrap up tonight. I'm going to talk about my pile of how leaving the collection works. And this is something that I've stolen from Z Garcia of the Dice Tower and from Alex Radcliffe of Board Game Co. Both of them do something similar in slightly different ways. So Z takes games that might potentially be leaving his collection and he sets them aside, out of view, for a month. If he doesn't think about them, then it means that it doesn't matter that much in his collection. If he's not itching to play it, or, something like Blood Rage, if I set that aside to leave, I know that I would be thinking about, no, I really don't want to get rid of that game. Even if I didn't play it in a year, I still wouldn't want to get rid of Blood Rage. Detective City of Angels, that's going to be interesting to see. The Arkham Horror stuff, I don't think I'm going to be that bothered by the idea of these leaving. I'm not going to think about it and being like, okay, I'm going to spend my time now to get ready. Dang it. I say that and then I look at to get ready to play Detective City of Angels. I just looked at the back of the box, how I flipped it down. Detective City of Angels can be played 1 to 5 players. That probably means there's an automated chisel. If there's an automated chisel, then maybe it's a game that I should try and play through once solo. See what it is. it's still going to go on the pile. It's going to go on the pile of things that I might be getting rid of. And I guess I forgot to explain how Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. does it. Thanks. So Nas pointed out that there is a solo mode against the book and a whole audio cases online from the makers. Okay, that actually makes it easier for me to check out. So I might look at doing that before I get rid of Detective City of Angels. I'm gonna put it back up on the shelf now, knowing that. But so to pop back to how Alex from Board Game Co. does it, he puts them in a pile, but he leaves the pile somewhere a little bit more visible. If with seeing the game, he doesn't feel like, oh, I really want to play that now, or I really don't want to get rid of that, then he gets rid of them. So I'm going to do kind of a hybrid of the two. It's not going to be the most obvious spot in my game room for it, mainly because I already have more obvious stacks of games on my floor, which is some of the reason why I have to go through this. Nas says, put it back away and take something else away. Don't know what I would take away. Actually, I could do that. I could get rid of Reichbuster's cargo hold, assuming that is only the cargo stuff in there. I did combine boxes to try and condense it when I got the game. If that is only the cargo hold, that basically means it's only 3D terrain. I think there's more in it than that. But I'm going to leave Detective City of Angels on my keep shelf, talk myself back into it, just as I look at it, and knowing that there's a solo mode now. And I think something that I'm going to do with this series is, my goal with this series is to go through my collection right now. And think about, like, okay, what do I want? What don't I want? What am I going to get rid of? And I'm still going to be getting stuff in. Like, literally a couple days ago, I got in So Clover. So Clover, by the way, will not be leaving my collection when I get to it. Had one play of it, and it is a fantastic party game. But what I think I'm going to do is, this is the start of the 2022 going through my collection. I do not need to start over at March 2020 again. That is for sure. So this is the 2022 going through of my collection, and 2023, I may do this again. I may do a faster version of this again, or I may do a version that only focuses on either things that I haven't played or are new to the collection. And if Detective City of Angels remains unplayed in 2023, that's going to be a sign that I will probably have forgotten about, that it is time for this game to leave my collection. But that has been a longer stream than I was planning on doing. We are an hour, so thank you, Nas, for hopping in on the chat, hopping in on the stream. Always good to have people in the chat chatting live. If you're catching this after the fact, let me know what you think about the games that are on the chopping block right now. The ones that I kept. Let me know if you If you made any decisions differently, either direction. But with that, thank you for watching. There's links for the other stuff I do down below. I was talking on the stream how I do a Marvel podcast. That goes out tomorrow. So, peace. And at this point in time, it's more of a tradition for me to point out that my drink is gone. So it's time to wrap up the stream. But I really like the sign off of Bottoms Up. If I had more, I'd down it. So I'll see you probably in a couple weeks for the next part of this stream. Next part of the series. Thank you so much again for watching. Click that subscribe button, that notification bell to know when I go live.